the training, the physical training, the mindset training, the spiritual nourishment, the three things that we should be engaging in every day to strengthen ourselves in all ways. Are you doing it? Are we doing it? And by the way, I always say you in these messages, but when I say you, I mean me. I'm just talking out loud here. I'm not trying to preach to the world what the world should be doing. I'm telling you, I'm explaining to you, I'm presenting to you what I do. So when I say you, I don't necessarily mean you. I mean me. I'm talking out loud here. And this helps fortify me. This helps remind me. This helps keep everything that I want to focus on front of mind. So bear with me. But the three things that we should be engaging in every day, the nourishing and strengthening of our physiques, the nourishing and strengthening of our mindset, and the nourishing and strengthening of our soul. Are we doing it? Are you doing it for the reflection? And when I say reflection, for the image that's cast back on you? Are you doing it for the mirror? Are you training and hardening the body to look good in the mirror? Or are you doing it as we should to pay reverence to Yahuwah, the Most High, He who creates all things, He who breathes life into existence, Yahuwah, the Most High, the Supreme Elohim, the power and the glory. Are we doing it to strengthen the temple that He gave us that houses the Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah that you receive as a baptism when you are saved by Yahuwah manifested in the flesh as Hamashiach, the Messiah, Yahusha, the Most High, Yah, who saves, Shah, Yahusha, the Most High who redeems, the Most High who delivers, in coming to know Him and asking for His redemption. You are washed over and baptized in the set-apart Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh. The breath of Yahuwah washes over and heals your heart, and you're baptized in fire, a fire which purifies the heart of all poison, of all evil, of all sin, and revises, refreshes, reconstructs, renews you, and you are reborn once again in the image. This is your temple. This is where Yahuwah, the breath of Yahuwah, resides. So are we strengthening the temple for that reason or for the reflection? Are we all about the reflection, the image that's cast upon us? Do we seek to nourish our mindset, to educate ourselves, to improve our intelligence? Do we do so to gain an edge over others, to gain an advantage over others, so that we're smarter than others? Or do we do it so that we can find ways, devise ways, think of ways, create ways, ideas, concepts, inventions to help our fellow man? And do we nourish the soul and the spirit by learning the ways of Yahuwah, Yahusha? Do we nourish our hearts, our souls, our spirits with His teachings, His parables, His commandments, His phrases, His life story, and the stories of the teachings of the disciples, the Talmudim, His taught ones? Do we do so that we could stand upon the bully pulpit and preach fire and brimstone to the people and lord over them as a Pharisee that worships Him with their lips and not with their hearts? Or are we doing it because we want to lead our fellow man to the glory and redemption, salvation and healing and joy and peace and everlasting life of Yahuwah, Yahusha? The reflection. And by the way, initially, these were the things that motivated me to engage in all of those. Actually, certainly the mirror for the physique, certainly the mindset for the advantage over others. But when I came to Yahuwah, Yahusha, it was because I knew I couldn't do what I do on this earth navigating this hallucination, this illusion any longer without his help. And that I needed to be redeemed. I needed deliverance from who I was. I needed his salvation. I needed his healing. I needed his joy. And so I did that, not to be some preacher that tells others how to live their life and that worships with their lips and not with their hearts. But the other two, certainly. I absolutely engaged in hardening the physique simply so it looked good in the mirror. I did it for the ways of the flesh. I did it for the endorphin rush. I did it for the pump, because the pump was like a drug. It still is. But now when I'm in the gym, I'm purely thinking, I'm purely contemplating my connection with Yahuwah Yahusha. I'm receiving satellite. I'm receiving the transmission. I'm receiving the signal. And I'm ruminating, contemplating, and meditating on the words, the phrases, the parables, the teachings of Yahuwah Yahusha. And it gets me close because I'm in flow state. I'm in the zone. But that's what initially inspired me to harden the physique. The mirror, the reflection. And what initially inspired me to continue to improve my mind was so that I had an advantage, an edge over others, so that I could be better than others, so that I could be more intelligent than others, so I could be more skilled than others. And so those two things that I engaged in for self-improvement purposes was only for the reflection, only for the esteem of others, only to conquer others, only. And here's the thing, as Yahuwah Yahusha says, when the mother of the sons of Zebedee, James and John, comes to Yahusha and says, I want to ask something of you. And Yahusha says, what is it you wish for? And she says that my sons, James and John, that they sit at your right hand and your left hand on the throne. As you sit on the throne, that they sit on your right and your left. And he says, you do not know what you're asking. You don't know what you're asking. Are you able, speaking of the sons of Zebedee, are you able to drink from the cup that I'm going to drink from? Are you willing to? Are you able to be immersed in the way that I am immersed? And they're like, yes, we can. Of course we can. Such is even the disciples. Disciples were only human, right? So they've got egos. They want to be the best. They want to be the greatest. They want to be the first. And they say, yes, we can. We can drink from the cup you're going to drink from. We will be immersed in the way you're immersed. And he says, you surely will. But it is not for me to grant you the seats by my left hand and right hand. That is only for those that the Father prepares for. They're not mine to give. Those seats are not mine to give, he says. It's only for the one, the Elohim, the Most High, the Father, the Abba, the Creator of all things, Yahuwah. Those two seats are only for who Yahuwah has prepared them for. And when the other disciples heard the two of them, James and John, trying to wedge their way into the two power seats, the two most prized seats, they got angry, and they started complaining and kvetching and arguing, and they got really pissed off with James and John. Hey, there's 12 of us here. You're trying to wiggle your way, worm your way. You're trying to convince Yahusha to give you the two seats. What about the rest of us, right? The disciples were only human. They had egos. We're only men. We're imperfect. But nevertheless, Yahuwah Yahusha says to them, for those of you that want to be great, serve. For those of you that want to be first, he will be your servant. For even the son of Adam, the son of man, Yahuwah, manifested in flesh as Yahusha, has come to serve, not to rule. The rulers of this world, they rule because they're drunk on power, because they hold authority over you, and that is their motivator. That is why they seek to hold the power seat. That is why they seek to be the leader. That is why they seek to be out front and to be first, because they want to lord it over the people. But the true leaders, those who truly wish to be great, those who truly wish to be first will be last, and those that are last will be first. To make it real simple, think about it like this. If you're able enough and strong enough and courteous enough and good enough and kind-hearted enough and patient enough, when you come to a door and there are other people, there's a crowd behind you, you don't try to get in there ahead of them. And we're all guilty of this, right? We're all petty in certain ways. What we do when we're living in Yahuwah Yahusha, we understand our hearts are pure, righteous. Even though it's the little things that count. What do? We hold the door open. And we let those who didn't get there first, who didn't get there ahead of, we let them go in first. And they go in and they get the good seats. And they go in and they get, they get to see first. They get to eat first. They get to sit first. And they go and they go and they go. And then you go in last. The first becomes last, and the last becomes first. And so we don't do this for the reflection. We don't do what we do. We don't do what we do to gain an advantage over others. We don't do what we do to rule over others. We don't do what we do for the esteem and the glory of man. We harden the temple and strengthen the temple because it was given to us as a gift by Yahuwah Yahusha. He created us in his image, and this is the temple. The body is the temple. The physique is the temple that houses the Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah. And so we strengthen it to get into flow state, to get into zone, and to have that connection and signal and conversation with Yahuwah Yahusha, to better understand Yahuwah Yahusha and his words in his teaching. And we do it to strengthen the temple because we are paying our respect, out of respect to Yahuwah Yahushua for the gift that he gave us. We respect this temple by not poisoning it and not toxifying it, by keeping it strong, healthy, robust, and vibrant. Again, so that others can lean on us, so we can be strong for others, not for the ways of the flesh or the reflection in the mirror. We strengthen the mind not to gain an advantage over our fellow man. We strengthen our mindset to be able to lift our fellow man higher with ideas and concepts and encouragement, inspiration, and inventions that will help them elevate. And we nourish our souls with the words and the teachings of Yahuwah Yahusha, not so that we can be like a Pharisee that worships with their lips and puts on a big show and is holier than thou, so we can lord over others and preach fire and brimstone to them about how they should be living their life and how we're so righteous and they're so sinful. No. We nourish the soul and the spirit and better come to understand Yahuwah Yahusha and walk with him with a righteous heart so that we can be a beacon of hope for those who are lost, who we once were like. Hopeless, anxious, frustrated, lost, hungering, thirsting, never happy, in sorrow, depressed, sad, angry, jealous, envious, bereft, always clawing, scratching, conquering, never being satisfied, never being grateful. It's never enough. Clawing, scratching, cannibalizing, conquering, seeking dominion over our fellow man, constantly pushing and striving for more consumerism, more materialism, more mammon, more ways of the flesh, more decadence, depravity, defilement, debasement, only to be left wondering, alone, contemplating, ever ruminating on what's my purpose, what's the meaning of it all. Every question answered, another question behind it. Every door open, another door locked behind it. Every mountain we climb at the bottom of another. Till we come to Yahuwah Yahusha and ask for his salvation, and our hearts are healed and flooded with the Ruach, the breath of Yahuwah, and we truly know his salvation for the first time, and we understand, and we're grateful, truly grateful at the level of our DNA as it expresses true thankfulness for the first time in confessing to him and asking for his forgiveness and asking for salvation, in being washed over like a tidal wave with his love and his grace and his glory, and the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart spirit, the breath of Yahuwah, beaming within us, his light, his glory, giving us that redemption, and we're dynamic and robust and healthy and strong of heart, righteous, true, justified, and sanctified. And then we surrender. and we surrender and we realize the way we've been living, it hasn't gotten us what we had hoped for, what we had imagined. We got lost in this illusion, but now we see the real. We see the zeros and the ones behind it all, and we are thankful and we are grateful for the light that shines upon us, the light of Yahuwah that shines within us, because it extinguishes the darkness once and forever. Now we walk in the light, and when you walk in the light, you walk with Yahuwah Yahusha, because he is the light of this world, such that the darkness cannot overcome, the darkness that comprehend, and the darkness dissipates, and we are bathed in light, his healing love, his healing light. And now the light shines on down that narrow path that we now see for the first time, that leads to the narrow gates, that leads to the kingdom to come, the reign of Yahuwah Yahusha, the reign of the heavens. And we know the narrow path that we must walk, and walking that path and being filled with the vigor and the vim and the robustness and the dynamism and the everlasting life from receiving the word, the commandment, knowing the way, the truth, and the life. We live now with a renewed energy, a revised mindset, a empowered soul filled with life and love and healing and joy and peace and all of those. We do this. We nourish our souls and we walk this path in many ways. Again, not so we can be a Pharisee, not so we can lord it over others, not so we can preach fire and brimstone and tell people how they should live their lives, but instead to simply live as an example so that those who are lost can see that we were once like them, and that now that we have this peace, this healing, this love, this redemption, they know if we can be saved, then they can be saved. And so we simply live as an example for our people so that they know there is a way, and we do so simply to lead as many of Yahusha's children and lost sheep, as many as we can, to lead them to Yahuwah Yahusha, to lead as many as possible to Yahuwah Yahusha, to the way, the truth, and the life. That's why we do it. That's why we do it. We don't nourish our souls so that we know the Gospels and the New Testament and the Bible backwards and forwards, such that we can stand here and we can debate with the atheists, so that we can argue every case. What's that book? The Case for Christ. We don't. Not so that we can be here and say we're a know-it-all. We know all things. We know nothing. The atheists know nothing. The scientists know nothing. And the saved, like us, know nothing. We're men. We're humans. We're imperfect. We're learning. We're on a journey. And how we navigate this life, that's what counts. This is a hallucination. This is a mirage. This is not the real, but what we do here counts. And how we act counts. And receiving the word and understanding the singular commandment from which all good things spring, and that is to love Yahuwah with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, to love our fellow man as we love ourselves. We understand we're not about the reflection. We're not about the esteem of man. We're not about the ways of the flesh, and we're not about this illusion that we happen to be walking in right now. But once we see the way, the truth, and life, and we see the zeros and the ones and the real, and we know the word, and once you know the word, you never unknow it. Once you see, you will never unsee. Once you hear, you will never unhear, and it is glorious. It is magnificent. And so in nourishing our soul every day, and in living as an example for our people, and being filled with this salvation, this glory, this redemption, this robust, everlasting life, we do so that others know that there's a way for them to be saved, to be healed, to find true joy, to find true peace, to find true love, and to find everlasting life. The reflection is an illusion. What you see with your eyes is an illusion. The stories and the yarns that the so-called masters of reality spin are a hallucination and a mirage. The only place you're going to find the truth, the real, the zeros and the ones behind it all, the only place is in your heart. Because you know what's in your heart, you know what's right. Your conscience is calling out to you, And that is Yahuwah Yahusha. That's him beckoning. That's the clarion call. That's him knocking on your door. You don't have to shout. You don't have to scream. You don't have to go on some long journey. You don't have to find a yogi. You don't have to find a magi. You don't have to find a wise man. You don't have to find a holy man. You don't have to find any of these Pharisees. He lives right here. Let him in. He's calling you. He's calling you. The truth lies in your heart. The truth, the way, and the life lies in Yahuwah Yahusha, not in the reflection.